The transfer window is about to explode. In fact, it's already exploded. Things are popping off all over the gap. And yes, many of our greatest fears are presumably about to be realised, with Alexander Isak going to Liverpool, the Premier League champions, because Newcastle United have agreed a record fee, a club record fee for Nick Woltemade. I think it's Woltemade. Woltemade? However you say it. Is it offensive to do the accent? Possibly. Probably. Anyway, for £69 million, so what is it, 75 plus 5 million in bonuses, euros that is. It's a lot of money. He is a great striker, of course, young Stuttgart German international. Somehow, despite being 23 years old, he just about wriggled into that U21 Germany team in the summer and scored loads of goals, probably a little bit too good for the level if you ask me. It's something to do with when you qualify for the competition. He was probably nearly 22 when they qualified, and therefore he was eligible to play, something like that. Still, he looked very, very good, being linked with a whole host of clubs. Bayern Munich were chasing him for ages, as Bayern Munich do when there's a young, wicked German talent in the Bundesliga. They try and reel them in. And of course, Harry Kane's popping off, but they need an alternative, and he won't necessarily play forever, despite Harry Kane talking about Ronaldo and Brady and these athletes that keep playing for a long, long time. So I do think, yeah, it's a good signing for Newcastle. He's a good striker. I mean, they were short. They, of course, missed out on Delap, Joao Felix, Ekitike in terms of striker targets. And, of course, Ekitike is scoring on them as well in the recent game. And he's another high-profile striker that was available. They got him. That can only mean one thing. I mean, it's spoken about the conditions that need to be met for Isak to be sold is they need a good replacement, and they probably need two strikers, because Callum Wilson, of course, has gone to West Ham, and Isak is essentially gone. So they wanted Johan Visser, and he was seen as a sort of second choice. Even though he scores loads of goals for Brentford, he was seen as that second choice striker, which, by the way, for him, he'd probably accept in a Champions League team, probably coming on every game off the bench, having a chance to start if he's in form. So you sell Isak and you bring in Woltemade and you bring in maybe Johan Visser, and then that's probably their conditions met for Alexander Isak to go to Liverpool. We'll talk about it. Guys, welcome on back, by the way. There's daily content here on the channel, Football Jan Ik. My name's Jan, Football Yannick. So we are on the road to 20,000 subscribers, which is a great milestone, something that I'll be very, very proud of here on this channel of mine. It's my second channel. It's more of my passion project. I'll be very grateful if you like and subscribe. And if you have any of those hype points available, which I think you have as a user on YouTube, you get a certain amount every week. If you want to support me, please do drop them on this video. All right, yeah. Okay, so lots of transfers going. Of course, I've been covering my mob Chelsea. Garnacho's been confirmed. A little word for Xavi Simons going to Tottenham. That's been confirmed. Of course, they missed out on Gibbs White. Romano said, here we go, he's going to Tottenham, only for Marinakis to force him to stay. Or that's what he was giving. Mr. Marinakis is treating me very well. Like proper hostage vibes, but no, he's staying. Of course, they missed out on Eze to North London rivals Arsenal, which would have stung, but I think at the same time, a lot of them understand, because he's an Arsenal kid, he's an Arsenal fan, he was at the academy, and that was his dream move. It's not like they just randomly chose to go to Arsenal to fob off Tottenham, but they were missing out on their first choice attacking midfielder targets, of which they really need because of Maddison's long-term injury, Kulusevski's absence. Xavi Simons represents an excellent signing for them. I'm sort of frustrated as a Chelsea fan, but I've covered this on Football Therapy. By all accounts, it's not Chelsea have not been gazumped. They'd agreed terms with Xavi Simons, but he was just waiting for the call to say the deal is done. And for some reason, Chelsea didn't pull the trigger. It was seemingly Chelsea's decision. It looks like they might be going for Fermin Lopez, or indeed maybe someone else in the background. There's speculation about going back in for Morgan Rogers. We'll see what happens there. But in isolation for Tottenham, it's a great signing, Xavi Simons. But look, there's loads of stuff happening. Man United might get a goalkeeper, other players, permutations. Nicholas Jackson might go to Bayern Munich, of course, following out the door, and Nkunku for Chelsea. But not to go into Chelsea transfers because I cover that meticulously and closely for the main channel, Football Therapy, but I do want to speak about Liverpool because I feel there is only one way here. Of course, there's meetings behind the scenes at Newcastle with like different delegations trying to get this Isak situation sorted. He just basically, I think he's won Isak. Of course, there was this talk about the Saudi Arabia public investment funds, the bosses getting upset. Like, you just don't upset the bosses, do you know what I mean? Like, you can upset, that's what they say, you can upset certain parties, but you can't centralise myself here. You can't upset the bosses. I thought I had my cat, no. So yes, to Liverpool. Now, the one person that would be frustrated to hear this would be Ugo Ekitike, who of course is an excellent player. He started the free competitive games he's featured for Liverpool. He scored, he looks good, he looks like he's not bothered by the physical nature of the Prem, the combative nature. He's sort of shrugged off. Even if he's not the strongest, he doesn't look like he's overly negatively affected. In terms of coming into the league and looking like he can operate here well, to me, he's done a lot more than a Florian Wirtz has, and of course they've both come from the Bundesliga, but he's shown that he doesn't really care about the physicality, and I think he'll feel frustrated because he's done nothing wrong. And to be honest, their attack looks good. They've offered 110 million, it was batted away. I am going to speculate here that this deal gets done very quickly and it's going to be 120 million. So I think maybe they'll find a way that it's just a little bit more than Wirtz, that it will be a record transfer, even just for the optics. Newcastle United, this has all been against them. They didn't want this to happen. They want to sit at the table with the big boys. This is what the new ownership want. They don't want to be bullied by the big boys and like have their best player taken away. But that's what's going to happen. So at least for the optics, they'll probably want to demand a record transfer, and they'll probably want to talk about and say it's a record transfer fee. Do you know what I mean? And even a record transfer fee, which I still think will be 120 million, because Caicedo was a 115. Wirtz was a little bit more to break that. He's the current record transfer. And I think you could probably 120 million pounds, which is a little bit more on top of that, would probably be the next record. Of course, that would be Liverpool breaking the transfer record twice in one transfer window, which is incredible, really. And then, Newcastle can sort of rebuild, but they need the players more. But it makes you think with Liverpool, looking at them play, they look soft in the base of midfield and their defence. They look good in attack. Should they be spending 120 million pounds on Isak? I mean, many of you will be shouting at the screen, yeah, obviously it's Isak, he's worth it, he's a superstar, he starts for most, if any team. I'm trying to think of teams he wouldn't start for. City fans will tell you they'd want if I was a Man City fan, I'd want Isak starting instead of Haaland at the moment, because I think he'd make City play better. I think he'd facilitate the rest of the teammates better than Haaland. I know Haaland's a better penalty box goal scorer, but I think, sorry, there's a helicopter. I don't know if you'll pick that up. There's a helicopter going above my head. I've done nothing wrong. It's not me. But I think Isak will be a better facilitator of other midfielders and forwards. He can operate comfortably in other areas. He's a better technician, etc. I think he's the best striker in the league, Alexander Isak. Who would he like? He definitely, a team like Barcelona is crying out for him. Maybe. Even like Real Madrid, they'll do better to be playing Mbappe on the left of these. Anyway, he's an amazing player. So therefore, you'd be like, well, yeah, obviously sign him. But Konate's had a terrible start to the season. He's looked really shaky. Van Dijk is not going to get any better. He has these poor moments. He's always had these wobbly moments here and there. Probably don't get spoken about enough. And they do have some centre-backs, but I think the big, and again, they can keep spending. There's been plenty of long reads on it. There's been athletic pieces, loads of other pieces of content on why Liverpool can keep spending and be comfortable. They will have to stop eventually. I do think the sale of is it Kwanzaa and Luis Diaz and stuff like that does help. It's not like Man United where they've generated no money in the transfer market. They've made money in terms of sales revenue and of course, their marketing, global revenue and stuff. It's really, really big. So they can spend. Can they spend 120 million pounds on Isak and then 40 million pounds on Marc Guehi? Maybe. Now, he's a fascinating one because Glasner, the Crystal Palace manager, spoke about this, pretty much saying that, oh, if he goes, then I'll have to put on my boots and try and play in central defence because I used to be a defender, the Crystal Palace manager. Of course, he lost Eberechi Eze. Significant fee, they made good money. Of course, they had been demoted from the Europa League to the Conference League, so there's less money there. If they were in the Europa League, they could win it, genuinely could have won it, and then potentially got Champions League money, which is dreamland for a club like Palace. But, you know, I mean, they're a great team. They've just won the FA Cup. But losing Eze and Guehi are the best two players, in my opinion. I know the likes of Wharton's got a really high ceiling in midfield, but still, it's pretty undeniable. They are the two best players, Guehi and Eze. To lose them both in a summer without necessarily finding really good replacements, while having the controversy of the UEFA demotion, the vibes aren't great. And it does sound like the manager, Glasner, really doesn't want that to happen, but then you've got Steve Parish essentially trying to sell Guehi in the public forum because he knows he's not going to extend with Palace. He's in his final 12 months and it's 40 million quid for Crystal Palace, which is a huge amount of money, and he's definitely worth that. I did think / hoped Marc Guehi would stay because he's currently starting for England in a World Cup year, and he will stay in that stable environment that affords him that platform to continue his position. And of course, they're going to be playing in the Conference League, which is more games to prove. I think Tuchel would just play Guehi, even carrying on at Palace, rather than trying to break into a Liverpool defence, a new system, currently a shaky defence. The Palace structure and defence looks infinitely better than Liverpool at the moment, so there's a risk for Guehi to leave Palace and go to Liverpool, and maybe lose his England starting spot, possibly. Unless he says, yeah, I'm too good, I'm just going to go and bench Konate immediately, play for Liverpool, try and win the Premier League and start for England. Why not? Why not have that, immense ambition as a young player? Or maybe he's just sat down with Palace and they said, look, we really want to sell you, it's 40 million quid. Can you please go rather than leaving on a free? And Liverpool, they might not be in for you next year, and what if you get an injury or you play badly and all your options go? This is your chance to go to Liverpool, off you go. Do you know what I mean? Maybe they've got in his ear somehow, and his agent's got in his ear, although his agent would definitely make higher fees as well if he goes. I guess a transfer, an agent gets fees, but surely they get a good fee as well for a free transfer. Do they get an extra sign-on bonus as well? I don't know. I'm not entirely sure, but it does seem like Liverpool, who have got maximum points so far, who've looked shaky and not completely formidable, as it were, could change that and just suddenly get even more better players. It does seem like Isak's going to go. But look, guys, I will cover it here. I love covering all footballing stories, big results, big transfers, big news stories. So please do, if you've got to the end of the video and you're yet to subscribe, please do consider subscribing. Help me get to that 20k mark. Thank you for liking, commenting, dropping your hype points and all that good stuff. All right, friends, see you back here soon. Take care. Peace.